Saturday, and good morning, and welcome to America's Roundtable Radio. This weekend on America's Roundtable, we are truly delighted and honored to welcome one of America's most extraordinary entrepreneurs and a great American, John Catsimatidis.
John Catsimatidis is chairman, CEO, and founder of Red Apple Group and CEO and chairman of United Refining Company. In 2019, John's Red Apple Media Group acquired the iconic 77 WABC-AM radio, a New York legend. He's the author of the best-selling book, How Far Do You Want to Go? Lessons from a Common-Sense Billionaire. The book is available via Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and by visiting catsimatidis.com. And without further ado...
Or WABCRadio.com, you get an autographed copy. And if you have to sell it on eBay afterwards, you get back twice the money.
That's great. Well, welcome, John, to America's Roundtable Radio today.
Good morning, John. Welcome indeed.
Good morning.
John, the recent poll conducted by the Wall Street Journal and NORC, National Opinion Research Center, shows a large drop in a belief of the American dream. Only 36% of the surveyed said that the American dream still holds true, compared to 53% who said so in 2012 and 48% in 2016 in similar surveys. John, you are an embodiment of the American dream. In your inspiring and must-read book, How Far Do You Want to Go? Lessons from a Common-Sense Billionaire, you take us on a journey of how to achieve the American dream. John, what is your message to Americans today? What do we need to do in order to save the American dream?
The American dream is alive and well, but they're making fewer people eligible for it because our education system has fallen apart a little bit. The COVID has affected our education system. Right now in New York City, the truancy rate, in other words, kids not showing up to school on public schools, is 40%.
Wow.
It's unbelievable. And the SAT scores are dropping. The religious schools, the Catholic schools, the charter schools are doing so much better. And what's hurting them is, look, I think the teachers are just as good as they've ever been, but it's the unions that are hurting them because they're creating so many rules that you end up the cost of students on the rise, and the value that the students get is too low. I'll give you an example. Catholic schools in New York are getting $7,500 or $8,000 per year, and their cost is actually $10,000, and they're getting donations to cover the difference. The cost of sending kids to public schools is $27,000.
Wow.
Where is that money going? And our kids are getting hurt. What I think America is under attack in so many directions. I had lunch today with one of my European bankers, and he was almost crying because what's happening today in the United States, they tried to make it happen in Europe to move it closer to socialism. And socialism doesn't work. After a while, there's less incentive for the American dream. So you don't have that many people with the American dream in Europe. In America, it's still a lot of people have the ability to do that. And education. The other thing you look at, with all the drugs that they're giving our kids, the legalization of marijuana in Colorado, in New York State, and making it easy to do drugs. I've had many neurologists, and you should have some neurologists on your show too, that will tell you if a kid takes marijuana from the age of 12 to the age of 24, guess what? 15% of their intelligence goes down the drain. So, and the other thing, I'm chairman of the Police Athletic League in New York that takes care of 40,000 kids after school. And the other big problem is boxing, or even football. Boxing, if kids from the age of 12 to 24, same age, while the brain is developing, if you hit them on the head with boxing, maybe they're having a good time. Maybe they're learning something. But again, they lose 15% of their intelligence quotient. Look what happened to Muhammad Ali.
Right.
So lose, if you smoke marijuana and lose, and also boxing or anything else, that's 30%. You might be successful when you're 18, 19 years old. Oh, look, I'm a football jock. I'm a boxing jock. But you're going to fail in life. And I think that's very important for mothers and fathers to realize it. And one of the reasons I wrote my book, because I came from a very poor neighborhood, and I want to help make a difference, because on the Police Athletic League, which I now became chairman, because our previous chairman, Bob Morgenthau, who was very famous in Law and Order, he died at the age of 99 and 10 months. And he took care of all those kids. And the difference is, I want to make a difference in those kids' lives. And my book, and which you talked about again, I'll just show it to you. If you buy it on Amazon or
can you put it once more time so we can snapshot that and share it with our
Okay, you got it?
Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
Yes, we do.
You could buy it on WABC-Radio.com in the bookstore, or Barnes and Nobles, or Amazon. But if you buy WABC-Radio.com, it's in my office, so I sign every book that goes out. And you know who's buying these books? Grandmothers, grandfathers that want to help their grandkids. Maybe one paragraph will help make a difference in their lives. Mothers, fathers, because I know certain things help make a difference in my life. When I grew up in Harlem, I grew up on 135th Street. So I'm trying to make a difference in those kids' lives. But
Absolutely.
what else would you like to talk about? There's so many things to talk about. And I'm still got my code. The world is out there. There's so many problems. Drugs. America's under attack. Their education system. Look what's happening to Harvard. Look what's happening to Yale. Our education system is under attack. Our drug system is under attack. Our borders are under attack. Right now, you have 2 million people that are on the terrorist list with the FBI because the borders were open. They just walked in. You know, we go to the airports. We got to take our belts off. We got to take our shoes off.
Yeah.
These people are just walking in.
Exactly.
And there's 2 million possible terrorists. And you know, you only have a few thousand FBI people to keep track of 2 million of them. You can't make it up.
Exactly.
So we're under attack in so many directions. The civilized world is under attack in so many directions. And if we don't bring it under control in the next few years, then we're going to be okay, but our kids and grandkids may be in trouble.
Yes. John, in your book, How Far Do You Want to Go? Lessons from a Common-Sense Billionaire, you shared in great detail how you got into the energy industry and acquired United Refining Company. Today, America's leadership has placed its quest to be energy independent and has returned to becoming dependent once again on the Middle East and the oil cartel's production decisions. The Biden administration's failed energy policy has also fueled higher costs for consumers and businesses, both large and small, as they pass higher energy expenses to everyday consumers.
Where should I begin? My God.
What are your solutions, John?
Day one, when President Biden became president, he owed to the battery companies, the electric companies, he shut down the pipeline in North America that was ready to be built. He shut it down. He declared oil to be the enemy of the people. So what happens? What happened is oil went from $55 a barrel to almost $120 a barrel. And when oil goes up, the price of food goes up, the price of everything goes up. And right now, we moved $1 trillion worth of wealth, because when your gasoline used to cost $2 a gallon, went up to $6 a gallon, then it went down to $5, $4. But the difference went $1 trillion worth of wealth went from North America to Russia, OPEC, who made OPEC zillionaires again, the other nations in the Far East. So the wealth just moved from North America. Why? Because of the price of oil. And what was happening right now, and why is there a war in the Ukraine? Well, Russia was producing 10 million barrels a day. At $100 a barrel, that's $1 billion a day profit. $1 billion a day profit. So they used that money because they had the money. They paid the Wagner Group, they had money to pay their armies. And the Wagner Group, I call the Foreign Legion of Russia. That's who they really are. And they went in to take the Ukraine. If we didn't give up Afghanistan and run and give them $85 million worth of equipment, military equipment, Russia would not have had the courage. And now they had the money to go into Ukraine. Then the same thing happened with Iran. The Biden administration allowed them to produce $3.5 million of barrels a day.
Right.
At $100 a barrel, they're making $2 billion a week profits.
Right. And they were doing 12 billions a year during Trump administration.
Now they're making $2 billion a week.
A week. Yeah.
Now, you know what's happening? You know, they did not use the money to take care of their civilized Iranians. You know who I consider the civilized Iranians? The Persian people. Civilized.
Right.
They didn't use, you know where they used the money? They funded Hamas. They funded Hezbollah. They funded all the terrorist groups. And that's what Iran used the money for. But we gave them the money.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The United States gave them the money because he allowed the price of oil to go up to that level.
Right.
You can't make this up.
Right.
It's horrible. Now, what's happening now, it's 2024, and the Democratic Party realizes that they cannot win the election if it's $6 gasoline. They can't win the election if it's 8% mortgage. So they were on their way. Gasoline came down. Crude oil came down to $68, $69 last week, or 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. And at the same time, they announced that mortgage rates are going to be coming down, interest rates are going to be down. So for the Democratic Party to win in 2024, gasoline has to be back down to $2.50, $3 a gallon. More 30-year mortgages have to be down to 4 or 5%. And the stock market has to go up. Well, the stock market went up 10% in the last 2 months. Oil was on its way down to 68, 69. And mortgage rates, they announced that they're going down, and interest rates are going to go down. And you know, then at that point, that President Biden gets up and says, see, I told you so. Bidenomics works. But a funny thing happened on the way to that success. The OPEC nations want $90 oil. Russia wants $90 oil. We want $65 oil in the United States. So there's an international war going on what is the real price of oil. So they got the Houthis to start attacking the ships and the boats in the Red Sea, where the Suez Canal is. And now some of those boats, the British Petroleum, has to go 12,000 miles around Africa to get deliveries. So oil went up to $75 a barrel in 2 weeks. What's going to happen there? Tune in a few weeks because, we'll find out what really is happening. But there's a world crisis. There's world war going on economically. They're not using bullets in the world war. They're using economics. And oil is the big economics. What's happening in Israel, people ask me, and I was on my show with Senator Lieberman 2 weeks ago, and you know why Iran pressed the button with Hamas? They gave Hamas's $10,000 a family to go attack Israel. $10 a family for 10,000 Hamas's. That's all it was, 10,000. That's only $100 million. In the oil business, that's, how do you say, chump change. Nothing. Right. They probably shorted the stock market and made it back. Who knows? So when Saudi Arabia, who are Sunnis, it's a religious war, was going to make peace with Israel.
Right. With the Abraham Accords, yeah.
Iran, the mullahs panicked.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
And they pressed the button for those 10,000 Hamasis to go and attack Israel. They're the ones. And you know what I call the mullahs? I call them the Osama bin Ladens of 2023.
Exactly. Right. Well stated.
And you know who's suffering? 2 million Palestinian people. Because, look, a lot of them are just going to work every day. 8 million Israelis and tens of millions of Persians, which I call the civilized Iranians. They're the ones suffering. The mullahs, they're billionaires. They control all the money in Iran, and we gave them even more money.
Right. And I mean, John, you just mentioned all the problems and issues that we've experienced just with the change of administration. Because as soon as President Biden got in office, the Biden administration engaged in an immediate reversal of all Trump principled policies. From a country with a thriving economy, which achieved energy independence, did not engage in any wars, improved the security in the southern border, achieved peace through strength, including signing of the Abraham Accords, we went in the opposite direction under Biden administration. And now, in light of that, you said how Bidenomics is going to be proving to be working with all these recent changes that you are anticipated with the oil coming down, inflation coming down. But Biden administration is making sure, and the network of those that are opposing Trump, that they don't have any opposition. So that the most recent, I wanted to ask you about this. The most recent decision by Colorado Supreme Court disqualifies Donald J. Trump from 2024 presidential primary ballot. And this kind of a decision would not be surprising in a communist country or totalitarian regimes of autocrats who are getting rid of any opposition by all means possible.
It's like a third world. We're acting as a third world country. President Biden has absolute control of the Justice Department. Justice Department has absolute control of the FBI. And they're doing things that I feel are not right.
So what do we do about it? I mean, how can that be reversed?
Well, there's an election coming up November of 2024. It's up to the people to realize who's right, who's wrong, and vote accordingly.
John, as we conclude our program, and John, we know you have to run during the season as we just celebrated Hanukkah, the Festival of Lights, and are now entering the Christmas season with Orthodox Christmas celebrated on January 7. And we wish you, Margot, and the family a Merry Christmas. And John, what is your message to our fellow Americans during the season of joy and hope as families get together and we rely upon the significance of faith which made this country great through Judeo and Christian principles?
Judeo-Christian principles works. We are civilized people. If we are not tough enough to maintain our civilization, every person on earth will suffer. And we need people to be tough enough to make the right decisions in 2024 during the election. Because socialism doesn't work. Being invaded by uncivilized people doesn't work. So I think everybody should sit down and do a reality check. What's best for our kids and grandkids, and do it this Christmas and New Year's. And I worry about our country because I don't worry about myself. I worry about my kids and grandkids to come.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, John. This weekend on America's Roundtable, we are joined by John Catsimatidis, one of America's most extraordinary billionaire entrepreneurs. Thank you so much for joining us today on America's Roundtable Radio.
Thank you,
Merry
John.
Christmas, happy holidays, and we'll catch up with you in the new year.
Merry
All
Christmas
right.
to you,
Merry Christmas.
Mark, and your family.
Thank you. We'll see you soon. Thank you.
See you
See you
soon.
soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.